preliminary, I went up there and I hiked out myself there, and it was good. It was a great experience. Everything that is beautiful, you can see the statue, and I wanna save money on the cost, right? So it's all started with I go to company to buy onigiri. So as a Muslim, I need to keep it halal. Okay, so it's hard for me to see what food is halal or not. So the solution is, I do it like this. So the workaround is I use the halal scanner app. I use the Google Lens to scan the app. It's all started. I start with using the Google Lens, and then I scan it. I get the text and I get it translated. So from there, I copy it and paste it to ChatGPT. As you can see from the screenshot, it's a very, very old version of ChatGPT. I think it's 2023. So that year was like 2024. Okay. And I was thinking like, wait a minute, I can make this process a little bit more smooth. And that's when I have an idea to create an app. So this is Halal Checker AI, and it's a food scanner that I used to. At first, it was for my personal use, and then I'm thinking like, why not? Let's make it like an actual app that other people uses, right? So that was the idea. So how the app works is it starts with scanning the ingredients. This is the very first feature. So basically, you just scan on the ingredient list. So from the ingredient list, you can scan it. It can be any language, like for example, Japanese for this one. And yeah, you get the result of each of the ingredients there. So you get explanation of why it is dog food, like why emulsifier is dog food, for example, like because because emulsifier can be a bit, it can be coming from non-halal sources, like for example, from animal that is not slaughtered the Islamic way. So yeah, that's one of the example. And then after that, along the years, I created a lot more new features. For example, I created a barcode scanner. So this barcode scanner is, you can scan any barcode and it will get the analysis of the halal status. So basically, it will go up into the open food fact database, and it will run some AI analysis with Gemini to get the halal status of it. The next feature is check product. So this check product is for. Okay, so this check product is scanning the front of the product. So basically, if you see in front of the packaging, right, you can see like it has a lot of information you can get there. For example, you can get this package name, the branding, and from there, it will search online using Gemini Flash grounding, and yeah, I managed to create this. So the result, the app is growing so far from 2024. It has 30,000 downloads, 4.8 rating out of 5, 3-figure MRR, which is like monthly recurring revenue. So I cannot say the exact number, but you can ask me personally. Yeah, it's okay. So the architecture looks like this. This is how I managed to do it. For the front end, I use Flutter only, and I use Node.js for the backend with DigitalOcean, and I use all those four tools and connect it together in the backend to make analysis. And for example, Superbase for the OCR, and Gemini Flash for the grounded search. So if you don't know, grounded search is where AI can search online. So basically, it's an easy way. For example, when you use ChatGPT, you can see there are a lot. They can search online, so you can get the latest information that is not available in the AI knowledge base. So these are the 6 tools that I'm using for Flutter. So in this talk, I'm gonna focus a lot more on Flutter, and those are Replicat, Sentry, Posthook, Showbird, Force Update Helper, and in-app review. Okay, I'm gonna go with the Replicat. So basically, this is the most important one. Replicat is basically a tool that helps you do in-app purchases, implement in-app purchases, subscription, and all those kind of stuff. The problem with implementing it without Replicat is you have to do it the manual way. For example, for iOS and Android have different APIs. Okay, like you need to have different way of implementing those. You have to read up the documentation. You have to connect it with the backend, and there are a lot more features that like Replicat have is like receipt validation, subscription, and a lot of this kind of stuff. And for example, like Replicat can help us to check the status of the user and get whether the user can access some features or not, and a lot more. I can go through it later. But the reason I'm using Replicat is as a solo developer, it will be easier for me. Okay, so as a solo developer, it takes up so much time. Like it saves a lot of time by using Replicat. You don't need to implement it from scratch yourself. So you can implement in subscriptions and in-app purchases. Like for example, you want to buy a point to run something, maybe run an analysis, maybe buy credits. For subscription, it might be weekly, monthly, and annually, and no backend required. But in this case, I also use backend, so it's kind of a combination of both. Okay, I'm going to give an example. So this is a workout app. So I'm going to explain the term of the Flutter revenue cap to you all. So these are the terms there. First one is product. So you need, basically product are different things on each app store for Play Store and App Store, Apple App Store. So those have this different kind of products. Okay, so you have to set up products separately for each app store. For example, if you want to make for example, for Google App Store, Apple App Store, you need to set up yourself Gym Weekly 11199. So basically, that is an ID. And the next one, so yeah, we set up there, and then we have packages. So these packages are, how can I say, it combines all those products. Okay, previously we have it separately, right? And then we want to combine both App Store and Play Store. We combine it together into a package. So, for example, the ID for the Android is Gym Weekly, and for Play Store is Gym Weekly. For App Store is Gym Weekly 199. Okay, so this store have those two set up, and this is we can make it consistent across the board. Okay, so what we have next is offering. Offering is basically different kind of paywall that you want to use. For example, uh, I didn't really use this much. I only used the default version, like weekly and annual, and that's all. But some people want to maximize their profit, so they are trying out some different paywalls to get the user to subscribe. For example, like if the user, maybe they run some promotion, so they can show different paywall. So basically offering is a different kind of combination of prices, different kind of combination of the product. Yeah. And lastly, the entitlement. Entitlement is simply if you want to lock a feature, if you want to make sure that the user that paid the feature is available to them, so you can use entitlement. So basically it combines all of those. For example, if you have premium subscription, okay, let's make it simple. But some other product have different kind subscription tier, right? For example, they have Pro Plus. But with this one, we make it simple, premium. So with premium, they can get unlimited workout. For example, they can create a lot of workout. And so how can we lock the feature? So the way that we can lock the feature is by logging on the logic of the Flutter. So basically maybe we can hide the button from there for a certain user. For example, if they click a button and they cannot open a workout plan. But if they have a premium, and if they don't have premium, they will show the paywall. That's one of the examples. Okay, so there are a few ways to build paywall. For this one, we have a no-code editor. So with no-code editor, you can drag, drop, publish, and you can update remotely. So if you want to experiment a lot and you don't want to run Flutter update, then this is the right choice. But for me, I prefer to build my own Flutter code. So you can use custom paywall. Custom paywall is basically you write the code yourself for the paywall design. There are two reasons. First, I'm having an issue with localization, like the replicate paywall is using native iOS, and there are some issue with the localization. So I'm thinking like, let's change it to Flutter code. Okay, with Flutter code, the second reason is I want to write code easily. So basically with the drag and drop, it's hard to write code, right? So since I just started write code a lot, so I prefer the second approach. Okay, so this is an example of the dashboard replica dashboard. So I hide a lot of stuff there, but yeah, you can ask me later about the numbers. But this is how it looks like. You can see how many started their trial. You can see a lot of statistics there. There are a lot of things you can see the charts. So you can have multiple projects too, as you can see up there. So this is how it looks like. You can see the latest transaction. But if you have the mobile app, you can have it notification of it on your phone. So, and it does feel good when every time it's coming. You can also view the customer profile. This is have a lot of important information, so you can understand your customer, like why they are subscribing, For example, one of the most important information here is the customer history. Like, okay, they start opening the app at 7:16 and they subscribe on 7:19. So it's maybe they are subscribing it on a few seconds after opening the app, first opening the app. So which means the onboarding is going well. Like, um, yes, so other information is like, okay, one more thing you notice there is that you can track how many total spend you get. So some of my users spend a lot, so like, I don't know if they forgot to turn off subscription, but yeah, it's a lot. Like you pay weekly and it keeps going, and it's more like paying for monthly, for annually. And you can see the user ID, app user ID. Basically, this is the identifier for them. Basically, my app has no authentication, so there's no way to identify them. And yeah, that's why they have a user ID that is gibberish. With this user ID, you can differentiate each customer. But for example, if you have authentication, it will show email listed or maybe user ID of the database. Or one more thing, you can connect the database into this and implement a lot more other things. But for me, my app is quite simple, so I keep it simple. So here's the pricing. For me, it's worth it for me. Okay, because once you reach 2.5K every month, you have a lot of money. 1% is nothing. Unless like you're working, like your boss want to make a lot of revenue, then let's move to everything to, let's build our own revenue cap. And yeah, maybe it makes sense, but for solo developer, it doesn't make sense. I think 1% of revenue at that point is nothing. I'm gonna be honest here, I haven't reached this one. So that's one is Sentry. The second tool, this is very important. Okay, for example, like if you're running an app, right? Your user is having a crash. Your user is seeing a gray screen. If on Flutter we see gray screen, or maybe the app crashes on certain actions, and you don't know what happened there. So it's bad for you to debug the issues. So I think this is important also for like a serious app, maybe a huge app at commercial level, enterprise level. And yeah, you know how that feeling, right? When you're trying to debug something and you don't know what's the cause. So this is very important. So the setup is pretty simple. You just set up a Sentry Flutter init. This is an example of crash report. I didn't screenshot it all. So you can see the spec trees, and you can see what is the device ID, what is the version, iOS version, the model, and the version of the app. So you know where it's happening. And you can see the spec trees. Basically what I'm doing, I debug from the spec trees. So you can copy it and maybe brainstorm with AI, but yeah, it's important to be careful when using AI. Yep. And also, extra feature of the Sentry is it has a feedback form. Basically, with feedback form, you can send up the screenshot, your information, and what is the bug about, so you can keep track of the feedbacks. And the pricing is 5K euros per month, and that's the limit. So I think if you are stingy, I think it's important to log error at the right time, not every time. Like maybe if API error, right, like it's expected, maybe you don't track it. Yeah, just learn how to minimize the logging, because you can track any kind of error, right? You can actually by default it track the error that is like a runtime error, Flutter error, but you can maybe track errors from API. Yeah. The next one is post hoc. Post hoc is product analytics. So basically with this you can track the events, for example scan, paywall view, and purchases. So with paywall views, this information are important because you want to maximize how well your paywall works, how well your onboarding works. When you don't have the data, you don't know what to do. So that's a problem. And you can also see the funnels. You can see where exactly the user drop off. For example, for my app, it goes to the onboarding, and then the paywall, and then the first feature, like the first scan. Okay, so where do users fall off from this? We need to understand that. Like why it happened. These are small things, but it's very, very important. Session replay is also a thing. Session replay is basically you can see what your user using, clicking inside an app in a session. So it can be a useful information. Okay, the way you can track an event is by running post hoc capture. So for example, I put the event name as scan completed, and the properties of I use the result as the properties. This is an example. In the video analytics, there are a lot of more features. For example, the feature flags. You can roll out a feature just by using post hoc. Okay, so for example, you want to roll out a feature, you want to experiment a feature and then it goes badly. Okay, like there's an error. So you turn it off. So you don't really need to make a new update the app. Okay, you can also run experimentation. I haven't done this, but I think it's very interesting thing. So you can, for example, testing different kind of paywalls. Like, does this perform well? Does this, which one is performing better? And also it has survey, the same thing as centric. Okay, this is an example of me interacting with Cloud Code. Cloud Code, as you guys know, you can interact through MCP. Okay, for example, this is my onboarding funnel. You can I ask them to visualize it using test art, and I can see where exactly the leak happening. For example, this one is dropping off around stage 11, and yeah, maybe I need to fix that one. Yeah, I understand the analytics from here just by seeing it. And the good thing with MCP, you can brainstorm with AI about how can you improve things in your app, the performance of your app, how can you make your user happier. Yeah, so this is a good thing with the new AI things. The pricing is 1 million events, so yeah, if you don't want to pay, then you need to save up a bit. And after that is usage based. And the next one is Shorbet. Shorbet is basically, okay, have anyone here heard about Shorbet? Okay, cool. So basically, I've worked with React Native too, and it's been a thing for a while for React Native, but Flutter, it came a bit late. So Shorbet is kind of new thing. They push the code through update over the app. So what it means is that we don't need to run a new build. So basically, when you want to update an app previously, you usually need to make a new build, and it takes time for them to review, and it can be bad sometimes. If you want to run something, to push something fast, actually it's not. Okay, I will get to that later. Actually, for me, it's good for a small UX improvement, or maybe you want to show a new feature, test a new feature, because critical issues can happen. Okay, I will go through that later. So here's the pricing. Okay, so basically, so one issue, so the pricing is 5K patch install per month, which means like every time you open a new app, that counts as one. Okay, let's say you have 30,000 users, then the user open the app for maybe if 5K user and there is one update, then it's not free anymore. Like 5K monthly user. So yeah. Okay, there are a lot of limitations in my personal opinion. Okay. So the first one is a known issue. For example, if you want to push a patch for a new user, like who never even installed your app, then it would be a problem, because they have to open the app at least once. Okay, so when this happens, the update is not pushed to the new user. So it's an issue like if you, for example, like for critical part of your onboarding, maybe you push something bad, like you push a bug, and then you cannot use this because the first user will see the first ever update, the first build, the one that we found the patch. Okay, for example, right, trying to uninstall and reinstall Instagram, right, and then you kill the app. The next time it has a lot of more feature. Okay, that is how it works, and it can only affect Dart only code. So if you want to change the logic, then you can use this one. Okay, so the problem is you cannot push a new asset. For example, you want to add a new image, new icon. So those are the limitations. Or you want to change the iOS specific config, then you cannot use this. It's not possible. And the next one, it's not suitable for critical bug fixes for the reason that I've said, because some user might not get to see those updates. So what we do with the critical bug? So the critical bug, the only way we can do is we have to force people update. Okay. That's why we use the force update helper. So this library will force the user to update, and it's made by Andrea Bisotto. Anyone know him? Okay, but he's a Flutter guy, he's a legend. I mean, he's the one who teach me Flutter. Okay, so basically, the reason why we force update is because, fatal error can happen, and man, people will get angry. Okay, because they paid for your app and they're asking, why is this not working? And it looks bad. Okay. So for example, like the backend has changes in the data structure, and then the front end is not catered. That's the problem with mobile development, right? Because you cannot update it like web. For example, like web front end, if you change, then you can change the web along, right? So the problem with mobile is that you have to wait for the new update to come. And that's the only way to fix. For example, like the data structure is different on front end and back end, then boom, you see null exception. And yeah, another reason why we should do this is because old version is, doesn't have the best experience, so it's important for us to, let them know, let them experience the best of the app. Like if we make a new improvement to the app, then they have to see it. So yeah, they can be happier. And some user did disable auto update, so maybe some people disable it for some reason and they cannot get the best experience. For me, I prefer to host the minimum version on GitHub Gist. Okay, why? Okay, so you can host it on backend or GitHub Gist, but for me, GitHub Gist is more suitable for a solo developer because it's easier to manage and you don't really need a backend. Because backend, a lot of things can happen in the backend. For example, maybe, I don't know, the URL change, or maybe the API version change, or something happen. Maybe there can be a lot of things unexpected happen. So that's my preference. So I will put this on GitHub Gist, and then the front end will check this number. Okay, I put the link URL on the front end. Okay, for example, if you install the older version, right? For example, like version 1.45, and then it will prompt something like this. Yeah, it will prompt something like this. It will force you to update. If you're using the app without the new update, then you cannot use the app basically. So the best thing about this specific library is that it checks for foreground also. Okay, you can implement it yourself, but there are a lot of edge cases this library handle. So yeah, after they update, they will get a new version and boom, the dialog is gone. The next feature, the next library is in-app review. In-app review is basically a prompt you pass in the app. Okay, let's see what it is. Okay, I see a lot of big apps out there. For example, government app. I don't know, a lot of Malaysian apps, they don't ask for review. And yeah, when you do that, only angry users will give our review. And it won't look good on your app store, on App Store or Play Store, right? Okay, so that's why we need to ask for review. Okay, for example, is because for solo developer especially, ASO is very important, which means App Store optimization. Okay, so when you have better rating, okay, I don't know the exact algorithm, but when you have better rating, then they will bring up the app more in the search result or as a recommendation. Okay, so it's important to ask the right moment. Like for me, I asked it 3 seconds after the first successful scan. Like I did the logic. What I did in the logic is that I don't ask it when the scan failed. So yeah, this is ask at the right time. It's very important. And don't abuse it because there are limits, especially on iOS. There are only 3 times per year. Okay, so for the prompt, it will look like this. So this is for iOS, and yeah, it will last like this. Okay, so beyond Flutter, this is unrelated to Flutter, but if you want to create a profitable app, it's important to experience more in life. Okay, because for example, if I didn't go to Japan solo, and I didn't get the idea for this app, I didn't experience that specific problem for that specific niche. Okay, I don't go around trying to find a halal food. So yeah, maybe talk around, go to events, and idea will spark. Or maybe you can align with your area expertise. For example, for me, I understand what it meant to be halal. So, and I also can code. So why not I propose, I write out the solution as an app. Or maybe you can improve an app as something, for example, halal checker is because I'm unhappy with one of huge halal scanner app previously, like they don't have the database of some of the onigiri that I have. So that's a huge problem for me, and I code up some solution for it. Okay, so another one is simple, lovable, complete. A lot of people using the term MVP, minimal viable product, but according to Jason Cohen, so Jason Cohen wrote up an article about why MVP is bad, because it's very important for your user to be happy. Okay, when you build a product, the first version of the product, it's important to make a simple one. For example, simple is like my halal checker, the first version, only two things: the halal scanner and the history, scan history. Lovable, which means you even for those simple things, you need to focus a lot on improving it, on making user happy, and complete. You cannot make just simply a landing page and ask for emails, ask for signups. And some people prefer to do this, and it's okay. Some kind of business is suitable to do this, and that's fine too. And finally, learn user acquisition. This is the most important part because now it's very easy to code with AI and too much app, not a lot of marketing. Building the app is the easy part. What's hard is understand the human, understanding how TikTok algorithm works, what kind of ads that makes people click. Those are the important things out there. And here is the most important thing to understand if you want to build a profitable app. And you have to make user aware of your app, and then think of it as a funnel. Okay, it doesn't look like a funnel because the color is. But actually, I made it look like a funnel. Okay, so it starts from the top. You need user to discover your app, maybe by posting on threads, maybe posting TikToks about it. But for me, the quality is used of people coming in is important too. Like, okay, how do I say? For example, I only target Western Muslims because they have a lot of money, and I don't want to target Asian because API costs a lot, So and I can charge more, so that's my goal. Like if you, for example, maybe you promote in Indonesia, India, they are very less likely to subscribe. Okay, and then the next one is App Store page. You have to make a beautiful screenshot, professional screenshot, title, and the review must look good. That's why we ask for review. And then we install the onboarding. This is quite important. You have to prompt the user for the paywall, and then we go to the paywall, and boom, does the onboarding makes the user want to click subscribe the app, or maybe later in the day, later after using the app. And then they become a subscriber, and the next most important thing is to minimize churn, is the retention. Yeah, so thank you very much for coming. You can scan it for the LinkedIn, and maybe I will I will post the slide later. So yeah, thank you to Moaz and the team and everyone. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, maybe you can.
Okay. First question, what's the difference between people who subscribe and people who don't subscribe? Is there any differences on the usage of the app?
Okay, specifically for my app, user who don't subscribe only have 2 scans per month. Yeah, kind of thingy.
Okay, so you limit on
Yes.
monetization. Okay. The second question, how much is your AI cost per
Okay,
month?
if I would say per scan, 0.01 to 0.05 dollar. Yeah.
So few cents per month?
Per scan.
Per scan. Then how much you actually pay?
Right now. It goes up and down. Few hundreds.
Few hundreds. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Okay, so even when you're paying this much, is it profitable still?
Slightly profitable.
Oh.
It's not a lot actually, but I will tell the number after this.
Okay. One more question actually. How did you run an ad campaign to make people download? How did people know that there's this app? Let me actually download this and try, because if you open App Store, you can see that there's a lot of app actually for this type. Why your app like got more famous than other one? That's my point.
Okay, basically because I run more ads. I run a lot of ads on Meta ads, TikTok ads, or sometimes I do organic. Like for example, you just create a video for scanning, like you scanning the ad on TikTok and you will get organic views. Okay, so I basically run both TikTok ads and organic.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the great session. Now, a lot of people are building simple apps with just idea, cloud code and other apps can build within the overnight you can build. What is your mode? Like, you have this app. What is your mode?
Basically, I'm the first one to create this kind of app, but after sometimes a lot of people copying me. So my mode currently is every time you scan any product, basically you get the halal status, even if it's not in the database. They will try to find a way. Basically, the current halal scanner apps around there, they have a specific database, and if they scan, it is not in the database, then you cannot get the result, which is a bad thing. So basically, this app uses AI to guess the halal status. It's not perfect, but try to be as accurate as possible.
Like actually, I built this kind of app. It's like uses the local database. It has a, in Malaysia we have JKIM. It's Sharia compliance. It's the local database, and it's also it uses Gemini Flash 2.5 to search it live. And this is the main. If your app has this kind of mode, I think someone can build this kind of apps within the in the night when we have free time. So I think we need to find the more complex mode, or what if I built this kind of app and I run ads? How do you survive?
Initially, you run ads to get people to the app, or you want to run ad in the app?
Like I built the app the same as yours, and I run ads.
Run ads.
I
Okay, so no subscription.
But no, it's the same. The app is the same like yours, and in Facebook ads and TikTok ads, I run ads actively. So now we are a competitor
Oh, okay.
together. How
So
you can?
I basically, this is my side project. I don't really want to compete. But for so far, my app is the best. But they run more ads. They market more. I lose on that side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just like you mentioned that you use Shorebird, but you say that the Shorebird is not suitable for critical bug fixes, right? But isn't it Shorebird? Isn't it in the opposite way? It might be suitable for bug fixes, isn't it? Because I think right. When your app right got any critical bug, right, means your app is down. But when you create a bug fix build, right, it needs some time for App Store and Google Play for submission. So isn't it that might be suitable to use Shorebird to make a urgent bug fixes on the current app first, then only release a new build to upload to App Store and Google Play.
Actually, you are right. Okay, because you want to minimize the
Downtime.
damages, right? So yeah, you can run both. Basically, at one point, you push first, and then after the update, the App Store have a review, the submission has done, and then you force the user to use the integration. Yeah. So basically, it's not strictly not suitable for bug fixes. So yeah. Correct.
That's all for my question.
Okay, guys, I think enough for question. Maybe later, after the event, you can personally ask.
You can connect with them later. Sorry about that. We are